Deep beneath the earth, scattered across remote landscapes, and hidden in plain sight for millennia, our planet harbours architectural marvels that challenge everything we thought we knew about prehistoric humanity. These aren't your typical ancient ruins or familiar stone circles. We're talking about structures so bizarre, so impossibly complex, that they force us to question the very timeline of human civilization itself. Welcome back to Dream Vault Mysteries, where we dive headfirst into the enigmas that history forgot to explain. I'm your host, and today we're embarking on a journey that will take us from the quarries of ancient China to the underground labyrinths that seem almost too advanced for their time. Before we descend into these mysteries together, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Trust me, you won't want to miss what we're about to uncover. Picture this. You're standing before a stone block that weighs as much as 800 elephants, carved with precision that would make modern engineers weep with envy. Or imagine discovering an underground city so vast and sophisticated that it makes our subway systems look like child's play. These aren't fantasies or science fiction tales. These are real places, real structures, built by people who supposedly had nothing more than stone tools and determination. What we're about to explore will shake your understanding of prehistoric capabilities to its very core. We'll visit quarries where impossible stones were carved but never moved, underground complexes that appeared overnight with no explanation, and engineering feats that defy the technological limitations of their supposed time periods. Each structure we encounter raises more questions than answers, and frankly, that's exactly what makes them so captivating. Our first stop takes us to the mountains of China, where an ancient quarry holds secrets that have baffled researchers for decades. The Yangshan quarry sits quietly on the outskirts of what we now call Nanjing, but don't let its peaceful appearance fool you. This site contains evidence of an undertaking so ambitious that it borders on the impossible. Hidden within this quarry lies a single stone block that defies comprehension. We're talking about a megalith that tips the scales at 16,000 tons. To put that in perspective, imagine trying to move the weight of nearly 3,000 cars, all carved from solid stone, shaped into one massive block. The largest stones ever successfully moved in human history pale in comparison to this behemoth. But here's where things get truly strange. This isn't some rough-hewn boulder that nature happened to shape. Every surface bears the marks of deliberate human intervention. The cuts are laser straight, the edges sharp enough to slice paper, and the faces so smooth they could serve as mirrors. These aren't the rough chisel marks you'd expect from ancient stoneworkers armed with primitive tools. They're precise, calculated, and executed with a level of skill that seems almost supernatural. What makes this discovery even more perplexing is the presence of perfectly square holes carved into the lower sections of the stone. These aren't random decorative elements or natural formations. They're clearly engineered features, positioned with mathematical precision as if designed to accommodate some kind of lifting or transport mechanism. The problem is, no such mechanism existed in the time period when this work was supposedly completed. The surface of this massive block is dotted with mysterious stone protrusions, like ancient handles waiting for giants to grab them. Similar features appear on megalithic structures scattered across the globe, from the mountains of Peru to the deserts of Egypt. This pattern suggests either an incredible coincidence or evidence of shared knowledge that somehow spread across continents separated by vast oceans. Modern engineers have studied these marks extensively, running their hands along cuts that seem impossibly straight and examining tool marks that don't match any known ancient implements. The precision achieved here would be challenging even with today's diamond-tipped saws and computer-guided machinery. Yet somehow, thousands of years ago, unknown builders managed to carve this monument with flawless accuracy. The most haunting aspect of Yangshan isn't just the technical mastery it represents, but the fact that the work was abandoned. This 16,000-ton masterpiece was left unfinished, as if the builders simply vanished overnight. No historical records explain who started this project, why they began it, or what catastrophe forced them to abandon their nearly impossible dream. From the mountains of China, we journey to an equally mysterious underground realm that challenges our understanding of prehistoric engineering capabilities. In the rural landscapes of eastern China, villagers stumbled upon one of the most extensive man-made cave systems ever discovered, purely by accident. The year was 1992, when local farmers decided to drain what they thought were simple fish ponds that had existed in their village for generations. These weren't particularly remarkable bodies of water, just circular depressions that filled with rainwater and provided a modest living for the families who tended them. Nobody suspected that beneath the murky surface lay chambers vast enough to house cathedrals. As the water levels dropped, something extraordinary began to emerge. Stone steps, carved with precision and purpose, descended into darkness. The villagers, driven by curiosity and perhaps a touch of greed, continued pumping until they had revealed the entrance to what can only be described as an underground wonderland. What they had discovered was a complex of 24 enormous caverns, each one a testament to prehistoric engineering prowess that defies conventional explanations. These weren't natural caves carved by water over millions of years. Every surface, every angle, every dimension bore the unmistakable marks of human design and construction. The floors of these chambers stretch out in perfect planes, as flat as modern concrete pours. The ceilings arch overhead with mathematical precision, maintaining consistent heights across spaces large enough to park jumbo jets. The walls rise in smooth, unbroken surfaces, meeting the floors and ceilings at precise 45-degree angles that would make a geometry teacher proud. But perhaps the most striking feature of these underground chambers is the uniform pattern of tool marks that cover every surface. These aren't random scratches or the chaotic scars you'd expect from desperate excavation. Instead, they form consistent patterns, each mark angled at exactly 60 degrees, creating a texture that's both beautiful and deeply mysterious. The sheer scale of this undertaking becomes clear when you consider the mathematics involved. To create these caverns, ancient builders would have had to remove millions of tons of solid stone. We're talking about enough material to construct multiple pyramids, all carved out by hand, and somehow transported away without leaving a trace. This brings us to one of the most puzzling aspects of the entire site. When modern researchers began studying these caves, they expected to find massive piles of debris somewhere nearby. After all, when you dig out millions of tons of rock, that material has to go somewhere. Quarries and mining operations always leave behind enormous waste piles, mountains of leftover stone that accumulate over years of work. But at this site, there's nothing, not a single pile of rubble, not even scattered chips of stone that would indicate where all that excavated material ended up. It's as if the removed stone simply evaporated into thin air, leaving behind only these perfectly crafted underground chambers. The precision required to create such spaces without modern serve on the impossible. Etching equipment borders chamber connects to others through carefully planned passages that maintain proper ventilation and drainage. The entire complex shows evidence of sophisticated planning that would challenge even contemporary architects. What makes this discovery even more remarkable is the complete absence of any historical documentation. Despite China's meticulous record-keeping traditions that span thousands of years, there's not a single mention of this massive construction project in any surviving text. No emperor claimed credit for commissioning these chambers, no historian recorded their construction, and no local legends preserved the memory of their builders. The silence surrounding these caves is deafening and deeply unsettling. How does a construction project requiring thousands of workers and decades of labor simply disappear from human memory? What kind of civilization possessed the technical knowledge to plan and execute such an undertaking, yet left no other trace of their existence? As we stand at the threshold of these mysterious chambers, we're forced to confront uncomfortable questions about our understanding of prehistoric capabilities. The evidence before us suggests that our ancestors, or perhaps some unknown civilization, possessed engineering knowledge that we're only beginning to appreciate. These underground marvels represent just the beginning of our journey into the weird and wonderful world of prehistoric architecture. From carved megaliths that defy transportation to underground cities that challenge our timeline of human development, we're discovering that the past was far stranger and more sophisticated than we ever imagined. And we've only just scratched the surface of these mysteries that continue to baffle researchers and challenge our preconceptions about ancient human capabilities. The structures we've explored today represent a fraction of the prehistoric wonders scattered across our planet, each one raising new questions about who built them, how they accomplished such feats, and why their knowledge seems to have vanished from human memory. As we continue this investigation, prepare yourself for even more mind-bending discoveries that will forever change how you view our mysterious past. Our next destination takes us deep into the heart of Japan, where ancient mysteries hide beneath layers of myth and legend. But before we venture into these enigmatic sites, this is your reminder to smash that subscribe button if you haven't already. We're about to explore structures so bizarre that they'll leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about prehistoric Japan. Picture yourself standing before a mountain that looks like it's been sliced by the gods themselves. Mount Nokogiri, or Saw Mountain as locals call it, presents one of the most perplexing prehistoric puzzles in all of Asia. The entire mountainside bears scars that seem to defy the technological capabilities of ancient civilizations. These aren't gentle slopes worn smooth by centuries of wind and rain. We're talking about cuts so precise, so geometrically perfect, that they look like someone took a massive industrial saw and carved through solid rock. The stone faces rise nearly 100 feet into the sky, forming walls so flat you could use them as reference planes for modern construction projects. What makes these cuts truly extraordinary is their mathematical precision. The edges meet at perfect 90-degree angles, creating corners so sharp they could slice through paper. The surfaces are polished to a mirror-like finish that reflects sunlight with crystalline clarity. These characteristics suggest the use of cutting tools and techniques that supposedly didn't exist until the industrial age. Historical records tell us that Japanese stoneworkers began quarrying operations at Mount Nokogiri during the early 17th century, armed with nothing more sophisticated than hammers, chisels, and determination. Yet when you examine the deepest cuts, the ones that penetrate dozens of feet into solid granite, the contrast becomes impossible to ignore. Traditional Japanese tools of that era could barely scratch the surface of such hard stone, let alone create the smooth, uniform cuts that dominate the mountainside. The tool marks left by conventional implements are rough, irregular, and show clear signs of the struggle between human effort and unyielding rock. But the mysterious deep cuts show none of these characteristics. Instead, these ancient scars display the kind of precision we associate with modern diamond wire saws or laser cutting technology. They're too perfect, too uniform, and far too extensive to have been created by the primitive tools available to workers 3 centuries ago. The sheer volume of stone that would need to be removed to create such massive vertical walls boggles the mind. Some researchers have proposed that Mount Nokogiri served as an ancient quarry long before recorded Japanese history began. They suggest that a prehistoric civilization with advanced stoneworking knowledge operated here, creating these impossible cuts with technologies that have since been lost to time. The evidence supporting this theory grows stronger with each careful examination of the site. The arrangement of these cuts follows no pattern that makes sense from a conventional quarrying perspective. Rather than following the natural grain of the stone or taking advantage of existing fractures, they seem to have been planned according to some grand design that modern engineers can't decipher. Moving from these towering stone walls to the valley floor, we encounter another piece of Japan's prehistoric puzzle that defies easy explanation. Hidden among the forested slopes lies a megalith so perfectly engineered that it seems to float on water itself. The Ishino Hoden, or floating stone, presents visitors with a sight that challenges the laws of physics and engineering. This massive cube of solid granite, weighing approximately 500 tons, appears to hover mysteriously above a crystal-clear pond. The illusion is so perfect that many visitors initially refuse to believe their eyes. But this isn't some clever optical trick or modern art installation. This prehistoric marvel has been floating in its watery cradle for thousands of years, sustained by an underground spring that flows with mysterious consistency. The water never stops flowing, never freezes in winter, and never runs dry during the hottest summers. The stone itself defies conventional understanding of ancient construction techniques. Its surfaces are polished to an almost mirror-like finish, with edges so sharp and corners so precise that they rival modern machine work. Every face meets its neighbours at perfect 90-degree angles, creating a geometric form so flawless it seems almost supernatural. What makes this achievement even more remarkable is the positioning. This massive block wasn't simply carved and left where it was found. It was deliberately placed in the exact centre of the underground spring, balanced so perfectly that it appears to defy gravity itself. The precision required to accomplish such a feat would challenge even contemporary engineers with access to hydraulic cranes and computer-assisted positioning systems. The underground spring that supports this floating stone has become the subject of intense scientific study. Researchers have attempted to trace its source, diving deep into the network of underwater caves that feed the pool, but the origin remains stubbornly hidden. The water emerges from depths that no human explorer has ever reached, carrying with it minerals that give it unusual properties. Local traditions speak of healing powers associated with these waters, claiming that those who drink from the spring or bathe in its flow experience miraculous recoveries from various ailments. While modern science remains skeptical of such claims, the unusual mineral content of the water does suggest properties that differ significantly from ordinary groundwater. The mystery deepens when we consider the broader context of similar structures found across the ancient world. Egypt's Osirian complex features massive stone blocks positioned over underground water sources in remarkably similar fashion. The parallels between these distant sites suggest either an incredible coincidence or evidence of shared knowledge that somehow spread across vast geographic distances. From Japan's floating stones, our journey takes us into the realm of prehistoric art that challenges our understanding of ancient human capabilities. Deep in remote mountain valleys, archaeologists have discovered clay figurines that seem to depict beings from another world entirely. The dog figurines represent one of Japan's most perplexing archaeological mysteries. These small statues, some dating back more than 14,000 years, display features that seem strikingly familiar to modern eyes accustomed to science fiction imagery. Large, bulbous heads dominate bodies encased in what appears to be protective suits or armor. The eyes of these figurines are particularly striking. They're enormous, often taking up nearly half the face, and shaped in ways that don't match any known human population. The bodies are decorated with intricate patterns that some researchers interpret as clothing or ceremonial dress, while others see them as technological apparatus of some kind. What makes these figurines truly extraordinary is their widespread distribution across prehistoric Japan. Despite the fact that ancient Japanese populations were small and scattered, with limited means of long-distance communication, these unusual statues appear at sites separated by hundreds of miles. The consistency of their design suggests either a shared cultural tradition of remarkable persistence or contact with subjects that inspired similar artistic interpretations across vast distances. The level of detail achieved in these tiny sculptures demonstrates sophisticated artistic skills that challenge our assumptions about prehistoric capabilities. The proportions are carefully maintained, the decorative elements precisely executed, and the overall effect remarkably lifelike despite the unusual features depicted. Some of these figurines display characteristics that seem almost technological in nature. Geometric patterns cover the surfaces in ways that suggest functionality rather than mere decoration. The helmet-like headgear appears to feature breathing apparatus or communication devices, while the bodysuits show what could be interpreted as joints, seals, or control panels. The mystery extends beyond Japan's borders when we examine similar artifacts from other ancient cultures. Mesopotamian sites have yielded comparable figurines depicting beings with elongated heads, large eyes, and unusual body proportions. The similarities are so striking that they've inspired numerous theories about shared prehistoric experiences or contact with subjects that influenced artistic traditions across multiple continents. These prehistoric puzzles from Japan represent just a fraction of the weird and wonderful structures that challenge our understanding of ancient human capabilities. From impossible stone cuts to floating megaliths to mysterious figurines, each discovery forces us to reconsider what we thought we knew about prehistoric technology and cultural development. The evidence mounting from sites like Mount Nokogiri and the Ishino-Hoden suggests that ancient civilizations possessed knowledge and capabilities that we're only beginning to appreciate. The precision of their stonework, the sophistication of their engineering, and the consistency of their artistic vision across vast distances all point to levels of prehistoric achievement that don't fit comfortably within conventional historical timelines. As we continue exploring these mysteries here on Dream Vault Mysteries, we're discovering that the past was far stranger, far more advanced, and far more interconnected than mainstream archaeology has been willing to acknowledge. These Japanese wonders represent stepping stones on a journey that will take us to even more mind-bending discoveries scattered across our planet. The mysteries we've uncovered in Japan are just the beginning of a global pattern that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about prehistoric human achievement. But before we dive deeper into these mind-bending discoveries, if you're finding these mysteries as fascinating as I am, hit that subscribe button right now and join our community of truth seekers here at Dream Vault Mysteries. Trust me, what's coming next will blow your mind. Our journey now takes us to the windswept highlands of Turkey, where beneath the earth lies a discovery so extraordinary that it redefines what we consider possible for ancient civilizations. Hidden in the remote steppes of northeastern Turkey, archaeologists stumbled upon an underground city that makes our modern subway systems look like amateur hour. Picture this. You're walking across what appears to be ordinary farmland when suddenly you notice a small opening in the ground. Most people would walk right past it, assuming it's just another animal burrow or natural depression. But when researchers began investigating these innocuous holes, they uncovered something that defies all conventional wisdom about prehistoric capabilities. What they found was a 3,000-year-old underground metropolis that stretches for miles beneath the surface. We're not talking about simple caves or rough tunnels carved out of desperation. This is a sophisticated urban planning marvel that would impress even today's city designers with its complexity and foresight. The engineering precision displayed in this subterranean city borders on the impossible. Every tunnel has been carved with mathematical accuracy, maintaining perfect ventilation throughout the entire complex. The living quarters are arranged in logical neighborhoods, connected by a network of passageways that would challenge modern architects to design. What truly sets this underground wonder apart is its multi-level structure. Like some prehistoric skyscraper built in reverse, the city extends deep into the earth through carefully planned floors. Each level serves specific purposes, from residential areas to communal gathering spaces, from food storage chambers to what appear to be religious or ceremonial halls. The ventilation system alone represents an engineering feat that modern experts struggle to fully comprehend. Fresh air flows naturally through the entire complex, maintaining breathable conditions even in the deepest chambers. The designers somehow calculated air pressure differentials and created a circulation system that functions flawlessly without any mechanical assistance. But perhaps the most impressive aspect of this underground city is its defensive capabilities. The entrance tunnels can be sealed from the inside using massive stone wheels that roll into place with surprising ease. These weren't crude barriers thrown together in panic, but precisely engineered security systems designed to protect the inhabitants from whatever threats existed on the surface. The storage facilities scattered throughout the complex suggest a community prepared for extended isolation. Enormous chambers could hold enough grain to feed hundreds of people for months, while underground cisterns collected and stored water from natural springs. The level of preparation and foresight demonstrated here suggests a civilization that understood long-term survival planning better than most modern societies. What makes this discovery even more remarkable is how it appeared seemingly overnight in the archaeological record. One day, researchers knew nothing about this massive underground city. The next day, they were exploring miles of perfectly preserved tunnels and chambers that had been hidden for 3 millennia. The craftsmanship, evident throughout the complex rivals, anything produced by recognized ancient civilizations. Stone walls fitted together with precision that would make medieval cathedral builders weep with envy. Carved pillars supporting chamber roofs with decorative elements that demonstrate both artistic vision and structural engineering knowledge. Yet for all its sophistication, this underground marvel appears in no historical records whatsoever. No ancient texts mention its construction, no legends preserve the memory of its builders, and no cultural traditions explain its purpose. It's as if an entire civilization capable of creating this subterranean masterpiece simply vanished from human memory. From Turkey's hidden depths, our investigation leads us to India, where ancient artisans created objects so impossible that they continue to baffle modern scientists. In a small village that time forgot, craftsmen once produced ceramic vessels that seem to mock our understanding of physics itself. These aren't ordinary pottery pieces that you might find in any archaeological dig. We're talking about jars that defy gravity in ways that leave physicists scratching their heads in bewilderment. When filled with water and turned completely upside down, not a single drop escapes. The liquid remains perfectly contained, held in place by principles that modern science struggles to explain. The secret lies in an internal design, so ingenious that contemporary engineers have spent decades trying to reverse engineer the technology. These ancient potters created a system of tubes, chambers, and channels within each vessel that controls water flow with mathematical precision. The liquid can only exit through one is position of how the jar's specific opening, regardless or manipulated. What makes this achievement even more extraordinary is the complete absence of moving parts. There are no springs, valves, or mechanical components of any kind. The entire system relies purely on the shape and arrangement of internal chambers, demonstrating an understanding of fluid dynamics that supposedly wasn't developed until centuries later. The village artisans who created these miraculous vessels once produced more than 100 different varieties, each designed for specific purposes and displaying unique characteristics. Sadly, only 12 of these original anti-gravity jars survive today, carefully preserved in museums where they continue to amaze visitors and confound experts. The precision required to create such vessels borders on the supernatural. Every curve, every angle, every internal dimension must be calculated to perfection. A single mistake in the complex internal geometry would render the entire system useless. Yet these ancient craftsmen achieved this level of accuracy using nothing more sophisticated than their hands and basic pottery tools. Modern attempts to recreate these vessels have met with limited success. Even with computer modeling, advanced materials, and precision manufacturing techniques, contemporary artisans struggle to match the performance of these centuries-old creations. The original makers possessed knowledge that has been lost to time, taking their secrets to graves that no longer exist. The mystery deepens when we consider the cultural context surrounding these impossible jars. The village where they were created shows no other evidence of advanced technological knowledge. The people lived simple lives, following traditional crafts and agricultural practices that hadn't changed for generations. Yet somehow they produced objects that represent a level of scientific understanding far beyond their apparent capabilities. Our journey through the world's weirdest prehistoric structures now brings us to South America, where ancient builders created monuments that challenge every assumption about primitive construction techniques. Deep in the mountains of Peru, we encounter stonework so precise that it makes modern masonry look crude by comparison. The walls that rise from these remote mountain slopes display cutting and fitting techniques that defy conventional explanation. Massive stone blocks, some weighing hundreds of tons, have been shaped and positioned with tolerances that would challenge modern precision machinery. The joints between stones are so tight that you can't slide a knife blade between them, yet no mortar was ever used. What makes this achievement truly extraordinary is the three-dimensional complexity of the fitting system. These aren't simple rectangular blocks stacked in neat rows. Each stone has been carved into a unique, irregular shape that interlocks with its neighbours in ways that create structural integrity far superior to conventional building methods. The surfaces of these stones bear tool marks that don't match any known ancient implements. The cuts are too smooth, too precise, and too consistent to have been made with copper chisels or stone hammers. Some researchers have suggested that the builders possessed cutting technologies that have since been lost, while others propose even more exotic explanations. The transportation of these massive blocks presents another impossible puzzle. The quarries where the stones originated lie miles away from the construction sites, separated by terrain so rough that modern vehicles would struggle to navigate it. Yet somehow, ancient builders moved blocks weighing as much as modern cargo aircraft across this challenging landscape with apparent ease. The precision extends beyond individual stones to the overall architectural planning. The walls follow complex geometric patterns that demonstrate sophisticated mathematical knowledge. Angles, proportions, and alignments all conform to principles that weren't supposedly discovered until much later in human history. But perhaps the most mysterious aspect of these Peruvian structures is their resistance to seismic activity. In a region plagued by devastating earthquakes that regularly destroy modern buildings, these ancient walls have stood firm for centuries. The flexible jointing system allows the structure to move as a single unit during ground motion, dissipating seismic energy in ways that contemporary engineers are only beginning to understand. The builders somehow achieved this remarkable performance without any apparent knowledge of modern structural engineering principles. They had no computer models to test their designs, no seismic instruments to measure ground motion, and no historical data about earthquake patterns. Yet their intuitive understanding of structural dynamics surpasses that of many modern architects. These South American marvels represent just another piece in the growing puzzle of prehistoric achievement that spans our entire planet. From China's impossible quarries to Japan's floating stones, from Turkey's underground cities to India's gravity-defying vessels, we're discovering evidence of ancient capabilities that don't fit within conventional historical timelines. The pattern discoveries suggest that emerges from these scatter level of prehistoric knowledge and technological sophistication that mainstream archaeology has been reluctant to acknowledge. Each site we investigate reveals new evidence of ancient achievements that challenge our understanding of human development and capability. As we continue exploring these mysteries here at Dream Vault Mysteries, we're building a case for a far more complex and advanced prehistoric world than previously imagined. The structures we've examined today represent stepping stones on a journey that leads to even more extraordinary discoveries waiting to be uncovered in the shadows of our forgotten past. The evidence we're uncovering paints a picture that would make even the most imaginative science fiction writer pause in disbelief. But we're not dealing with fantasy here, folks. These are real structures built by real people using techniques that we're still struggling to comprehend thousands of years later. Our investigation now takes us to the mysterious landscapes of Africa, where researchers have stumbled upon ruins that could rewrite the entire timeline of human civilization. Hidden in the remote wilderness of southern Africa lies what might be the oldest urban settlement ever discovered on our planet. Picture yourself flying over the South African countryside when suddenly, through your camera lens, you spot something that shouldn't exist. Stretching across the landscape for miles are the unmistakable patterns of ancient walls, roads, and what appear to be residential districts. But here's the kicker: these aren't medieval ruins or even structures from the dawn of recorded history. We're talking about settlements that could be 200,000 years old. Let that number sink in for a moment. 200,000 years. That predates every known civilization by such a massive margin that it forces us to completely rethink what we know about human development. When these structures were supposedly built, our ancestors were barely learning to use fire consistently. Yet here we have evidence of large-scale urban planning. The layout of these ancient ruins follows patterns that demonstrate sophisticated understanding of city design. Circular structures connect to linear roadways in ways that suggest careful planning and organized construction efforts. Some of the stone walls stretch for hundreds of yards, requiring coordinated labor forces and long-term commitment to complete. What makes this discovery even more intriguing is its location in one of the world's richest gold mining regions. The ancient settlement sits directly atop mineral deposits that have been extensively mined in modern times. This proximity raises fascinating questions about whether these early builders were drawn to the area by the same precious metal that in these ruins displays modern mining operations. The construction techniques evident knowledge that shouldn't have existed at such an early date. stone walls fitted together with precision that requires careful measurement and planning, circular structures that maintain perfect geometric proportions across considerable distances, road systems that follow logical routes connecting different sections of the settlement. But perhaps the most compelling aspect of this discovery is what it suggests about human capability far earlier than previously imagined. If these structures truly date to the periods claimed by some researchers, they would represent evidence of organized civilization existing hundreds of thousands of years before conventional archaeology says it was possible. The implications extend far beyond simple historical revision. We're looking at potential evidence of human societies that achieved levels of organization and technical knowledge that we assumed required tens of thousands of additional years of development. The gap between what we thought we knew and what these ruins suggest is absolutely staggering. From Africa's ancient mysteries, our journey takes us into the realm of modern space-age puzzles that challenge our understanding of both ancient and contemporary capabilities. High above our heads, orbiting silently through the cosmos, there may be an object that has been watching Earth for far longer than any human satellite. The story begins over a century ago, with one of history's most brilliant inventors picking up radio signals that defied explanation. These weren't random cosmic noise or interference from early electrical experiments. The signals displayed patterns, repetition, and characteristics that suggested artificial origin at a time when no human technology could possibly have created them. What makes this mystery even more compelling is the consistency of similar reports spanning decades. Different researchers using different equipment in different locations, all detecting signals that share common characteristics. The patterns repeat with mathematical precision, suggesting a source that operates according to designed parameters rather than natural phenomena. The signals themselves display features that challenge conventional understanding of radio wave propagation. They arrive with timing delays that don't match standard physics models, carry information encoded in ways that no terrestrial technology of the era could produce, and maintain signal strength across distances that should cause significant degradation. Modern space agencies have attempted to explain these phenomena through conventional means, pointing to equipment malfunctions, atmospheric interference, or simple misinterpretation of natural radio sources, yet the consistency of reports across different time periods and technologies suggests something more complex than mere human error. The mystery deepened significantly when space shuttle missions began capturing photographic evidence of objects that don't fit standard categories. Images showing large metallic structures floating in Earth orbits, displaying characteristics that don't match any known satellites or space debris. The objects appear to maintain stable orbits despite showing no evidence of propulsion systems or attitude control mechanisms. Space agencies have offered explanations involving lost equipment, thermal blankets, or other debris from human space activities, but these explanations struggle to account for the object's apparent size, structural integrity, and orbital stability over extended periods. Something that can maintain position in space for years without propulsion represents technology that exceeds current human capabilities. The implications of such a discovery would be profound. An artificial satellite predating human space technology by decades or centuries would force complete revision of our understanding of technological development. It would suggest either human capabilities far in advance of recorded history or involvement of non-human intelligence in Earth's affairs. Our exploration of prehistoric mysteries now leads us to Egypt, where forensic technology has revealed secrets hidden within ancient mummies for thousands of years. Using advanced scanning techniques that can peer inside preserved bodies without disturbing their wrappings, researchers have uncovered evidence of violence and mystery from the dawn of civilization. Deep within the British Museum's collection lies the preserved remains of a young man who died over 5,000 years ago. For more than a century, this mummy rested quietly in storage, assumed to be just another example of natural preservation in Egypt's desert climate. But modern technology has revealed a far more sinister story hidden beneath the ancient wrappings. CT scans, penetrating through layers of linen and preserved tissue, have exposed wounds that tell a tale of sudden violence in prehistoric Egypt. The victim suffered a devastating injury to his back, a wound so severe that it shattered bone and drove fragments deep into his body cavity. This wasn't an accident or death from natural causes. Someone deliberately attacked this young man from behind with deadly intent. The precision of the attack suggests knowledge of human anatomy and deliberate targeting of vital areas. The angle of entry, the depth of penetration, and the pattern of bone damage all point to an assailant who knew exactly how to inflict maximum damage. This level of calculated violence in such an early period challenges assumptions about prehistoric social relationships. What makes this discovery particularly haunting is the age of the victim. Forensic analysis indicates he died between 18 and 21 years old, cut down in what should have been the prime of his life. The preservation of his body in the desert sand has maintained evidence that would have been lost to time under normal circumstances. The weapon used in this ancient murder appears to have been a sharp, narrow blade capable of penetrating deep into the body. The characteristics of the wound suggest metallurgical knowledge more advanced than typically associated with the time period. This raises questions about technological development in prehistoric Egypt that parallel mysteries we've encountered at other ancient sites. From Egypt's ancient violence, we journey to China, where an archaeological discovery has preserved not just an object, but an entire mystery spanning over 2,000 years. Hidden within an ancient tomb, researchers uncovered a weapon so perfectly preserved that it challenges our understanding of metallurgical technology in the ancient world. The sword emerged from its burial chamber as sharp as the day it was forged, its bronze blade showing no signs of corrosion despite being buried in damp soil for millennia. When archaeologists first examined the weapon, one researcher accidentally cut himself on the edge, drawing blood and proving that 2,000 years had done nothing to dull its deadly sharpness. The preservation achieved here goes beyond anything modern science can reliably reproduce. Bronze weapons from this period typically show extensive corrosion, pitting, and structural degradation after prolonged burial. Yet this sword maintains the kind of surface finish and edge retention that would impress contemporary metallurgists working with advanced alloys and protective coatings. Chemical analysis of the blade has revealed surface treatments that don't match any known ancient techniques. The metal shows evidence of processes that created protective layers only a few molecules thick, preventing oxidation and corrosion through mechanisms that modern science is still trying to understand. The precision of these treatments suggests knowledge of chemistry and metallurgy far in advance of the supposed technological capabilities of the time. The sword itself bears inscriptions identifying it as belonging to a legendary king, making it not just a technological marvel, but a direct link to some of China's most famous historical figures. The craftsmanship evident in every detail, from the perfectly balanced weight distribution to the intricate decorative patterns, demonstrates artistic and technical skills that rival the finest work of any era. What makes this discovery truly extraordinary is how it challenges our timeline of technological development. The methods used to create and preserve this weapon suggest knowledge that supposedly wasn't developed until much later in human history. Yet here we have physical evidence that ancient Chinese metallurgists possessed capabilities that we're still struggling to duplicate. The mystery extends beyond the sword itself to the broader implications for our understanding of ancient Chinese civilization. If craftsmen could achieve this level of technical sophistication in weapon making, what other advanced knowledge did they possess? How many other examples of prehistoric technology remain buried, waiting to challenge our assumptions about ancient capabilities? Our journey through the world's weirdest prehistoric structures brings us to one final mystery that ties together many of the themes we've explored today. In the remote mountains of Sri Lanka, legends speak of a preserved body that has remained unchanged for thousands of years, protected by forces that defy natural explanation. Deep within a cave system, accessible only to the most determined explorers, lies what local traditions claim is the perfectly preserved remains of an ancient king. The body supposedly rests in a chamber surrounded by treasures and protected by guardians that ensure no unauthorized person can disturb the eternal rest of this legendary figure. The preservation described in these accounts goes far beyond anything achievable through natural mummification processes. The body allegedly shows no signs of decay, decomposition, or aging despite the passage of millennia. The skin remains supple, the hair unchanged, and the features as distinct as if death had occurred only yesterday. What makes this legend particularly intriguing is its connection to advanced preservation techniques that parallel mysteries we've encountered at other sites. The accounts describe resinous substances and treatment methods that prevented normal biological decay through processes that modern science struggles to explain. These techniques seem to represent knowledge of chemistry and preservation that was supposedly unknown to ancient civilizations. The treasure chamber surrounding this preserved figure allegedly contains wealth accumulated over centuries of rule, protected by mechanisms and guardians that prevent unauthorized access. The descriptions of these protective systems suggest engineering and security knowledge that would challenge even contemporary designers. Local traditions insist that multiple expeditions have attempted to locate and explore this legendary chamber, but none have returned with conclusive evidence. The harsh mountain terrain, combined with natural and artificial obstacles, makes verification extremely difficult for modern researchers. Whether this legend represents historical fact or cultural mythology, it serves as a fitting capstone to our exploration of prehistoric mysteries that challenge conventional understanding. From impossible quarries to underground cities, from gravity-defying vessels to perfectly preserved weapons, we've discovered evidence of ancient capabilities that don't fit within standard historical timelines. The pattern that emerges from these scattered discoveries suggests a level of prehistoric knowledge and technological sophistication that mainstream archaeology has been reluctant to acknowledge. Each site we've investigated reveals new evidence of ancient achievements that force us to reconsider what we thought we knew about human development and capability. Here at Dream Vault Mysteries, we're committed to exploring these enigmas that challenge our preconceptions about the past. The structures and artifacts we've examined today represent just a fraction of the prehistoric wonders scattered across our planet, each one raising new questions about who built them, how they accomplished such feats, and why their knowledge seems to have vanished from human memory. As we continue investigating these mysteries, we're building a case for a far more complex and advanced prehistoric world than previously imagined. The evidence suggests that our ancestors, or perhaps unknown civilizations that preceded them, possessed capabilities that we're only beginning to appreciate and understand. The journey through these prehistoric puzzles reveals a past that was far stranger, far more sophisticated and far more mysterious than conventional history would have us believe. Each discovery opens new avenues of investigation while raising fundamental questions about the true nature of human development and the lost chapters of our species' remarkable story. The mysteries we've uncovered so far represent just the tip of an iceberg that extends deep into the murky waters of prehistory. But hold on to your seats, because what we're about to explore next will shatter any remaining assumptions you might have about ancient human limitations. These aren't just impressive feats of engineering or artistic expression. We're talking about evidence of knowledge systems so advanced that they make our modern achievements look primitive by comparison. Before we dive deeper into these mind-bending discoveries, this is your final reminder to hit that subscribe button and join our community here at Dream Vault Mysteries. Trust me when I say that what's coming will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about the timeline of human civilization. Our investigation now takes us to the heart of ancient China, where archaeologists have stumbled upon evidence of a civilization so sophisticated that it predates known history by thousands of years. Hidden beneath the modern landscape of Sichuan province, researchers discovered ritual burial sites that contain artifacts unlike anything found elsewhere in the ancient world. When workers first broke ground at this remote location, they expected to find nothing more than ordinary agricultural remains. Instead, they uncovered massive bronze masks with features so bizarre and otherworldly that they seemed to belong in a science fiction movie rather than an archaeological dig. These aren't crude, primitive sculptures hammered out by early metalworkers. We're talking about masterpieces of bronze casting that display technical knowledge far beyond what should have existed 3,000 years ago. The masks themselves are absolutely massive, some standing over 8 feet tall and weighing hundreds of pounds. But it's not just their size that defies explanation. The craftsmanship evident in every detail represents a level of metallurgical sophistication that modern foundries would struggle to duplicate. The bronze work shows no signs of the imperfections, air bubbles, or structural weaknesses that typically plague ancient metal casting. What makes these artifacts truly extraordinary are the facial features they depict. The eyes bulge outward from the face in ways that don't match any known human population, ancient or modern. The ears extend horizontally to impossible proportions, while the facial expressions convey an otherworldly quality that seems almost alien in its strangeness. But the mystery deepens when we examine the technical aspects of their creation. The bronze alloy used in these masks contains trace elements and metallic combinations that shouldn't have been available to ancient Chinese metallurgists. The precision of the casting process achieved tolerances that modern engineers associate with industrial-grade manufacturing techniques. Even more puzzling is the discovery of human statues standing over 10 feet tall, crafted with the same impossible precision as the masks. These towering figures display proportions and features that suggest the artists were working from direct observation rather than imagination. Yet, no human population has ever displayed the physical characteristics depicted in these ancient sculptures. The burial sites where these artifacts were discovered show evidence of sudden, violent destruction. Many of the bronze masterpieces were deliberately smashed and burned before being buried, as if some catastrophic event forced the inhabitants to destroy their most precious possessions rather than allow them to fall into enemy hands. Archaeological evidence suggests this advanced civilization vanished overnight, leaving behind only these fragmentary clues to their existence. No historical records mention their achievements, no legends preserve their memory, and no cultural traditions explain their sudden disappearance. It's as if an entire sophisticated society simply evaporated from human history. From China's vanished bronze workers, our journey takes us to the mystical island nation of Japan, where ancient builders created structures that seem to mock the laws of physics themselves. Deep in the mountains of rural Japan, researchers have discovered stone formations that challenge every assumption about prehistoric construction capabilities. Picture yourself hiking through dense forests when suddenly you emerge into a clearing dominated by a sight that stops you dead in your tracks. Rising from the earth like some prehistoric monument is a perfectly carved stone cube, polished to mirror-like smoothness and balanced so precisely on underground water sources that it appears to float in defiance of gravity itself. This isn't some natural rock formation sculpted by wind and weather over millions of years. Every surface has been shaped by human hands using techniques that produce results rivaling modern precision machinery. The edges meet at perfect 90-degree angles, the faces are polished to optical flatness, and the overall proportions follow mathematical relationships that demonstrate sophisticated geometric knowledge. But here's where things get truly weird. This massive stone cube, weighing hundreds of tons, sits balanced on an underground spring that flows with mysterious consistency. The water never stops running, never varies in temperature, and maintains chemical properties that don't match ordinary groundwater. Local traditions speak of healing powers associated with these waters, though modern science struggles to explain their unusual characteristics. The precision required to position such a massive object over a flowing water source defies conventional understanding of ancient construction methods. The builders would have needed to calculate water pressure, structural load distribution, and foundation stability with accuracy that challenges contemporary engineering standards. What makes this achievement even more remarkable is the complete absence of tool marks or construction debris anywhere around the site. Modern stone cutting operations leave behind mountains of waste material, countless broken tools, and obvious signs of the construction process. Yet here we find a perfectly finished monument with no evidence whatsoever of how it was created. The underground spring itself presents another layer of mystery. Researchers have attempted to trace its source by diving into the network of water-filled caves that feed the surface pool. But the origin remains stubbornly hidden. The water emerges from depths that no human explorer has ever reached, carrying minerals that give it properties unlike ordinary spring water. Similar floating stone structures appear at sites scattered across Japan, each one displaying the same impossible precision and mysterious water associations. The consistency of design and construction techniques suggests a shared knowledge system that spanned considerable geographic distances at a time when such coordination should have been impossible. From Japan's floating monuments, we venture into the realm of prehistoric art that challenges our understanding of ancient human experience and perception. Hidden in remote caves and buried in forgotten archaeological sites, researchers have discovered figurines that seem to depict beings from another world entirely. These aren't crude stick figures scratched into cave walls by primitive artists. We're talking about sophisticated sculptures that display anatomical knowledge, artistic skill, and attention to detail that rivals contemporary art schools. The figures are small, typically no larger than a human hand, but packed with details that suggest the artists were working from direct observation rather than imagination. What makes these figurines truly extraordinary are the subjects they depict. The heads are disproportionately large, often taking up nearly half the entire figure. The eyes are enormous, bulbous, and shaped in ways that don't match any known human population. The bodies are encased in what appears to be protective suits or armor, complete with details that suggest technological apparatus of some kind. The clothing or protective gear depicted on these figures shows characteristics that seem almost modern in their sophistication. Geometric patterns cover the surfaces in ways that suggest functionality rather than mere decoration. The helmet-like headgear appears to feature breathing apparatus or communication devices, while the bodysuits display what could be interpreted as joints, seals, or control systems. What's particularly striking is the widespread distribution of similar figurines across vast geographic distances. Despite the fact that ancient populations had limited means of long-distance communication, these unusual sculptures appear at sites separated by thousands of miles. The consistency of their design suggests either shared cultural traditions of remarkable persistence or contact with subjects that inspired similar artistic interpretations across multiple continents. The level of detail achieved in these tiny sculptures demonstrates sophisticated artistic skills that challenge our assumptions about prehistoric capabilities. The proportions are carefully maintained, the decorative elements precisely executed, and the overall effect remarkably lifelike, despite the unusual features depicted. Some researchers have noted striking similarities between these ancient figurines and modern depictions of extraterrestrial beings. The large heads, enormous eyes, and protective suits all match contemporary science fiction imagery with uncanny accuracy. This has led to fascinating speculation about whether these ancient artists were documenting actual encounters or drawing from some collective human memory of unusual experiences. The mystery extends beyond individual figurines to the broader cultural context in which they appear. Many of these sculptures are found in association with other unusual artifacts that suggest advanced technological knowledge. Stone tools that display precision manufacturing techniques, ceramic vessels with impossible fluid dynamics properties, and metal objects that show evidence of sophisticated metallurgical processes. Our exploration now takes us to the remote highlands of Peru, where ancient builders created structures that make modern, earthquake-resistant construction look like amateur hour. Hidden high in the Andes Mountains, these stone walls have withstood centuries of seismic activity that regularly destroys contemporary buildings constructed with all the advantages of modern engineering. The precision achieved in these Peruvian structures defies every conventional explanation about prehistoric construction capabilities. Massive stone blocks, some weighing hundreds of tons, have been cut and fitted together with tolerances that would challenge modern precision machinery. The joints between stones are so tight that you literally cannot slide a piece of paper between them, yet no mortar or binding agent was ever used. What makes this achievement truly mind-boggling is the three-dimensional complexity of the fitting system. These aren't simple rectangular blocks arranged in neat rows. Each stone has been carved into a unique, irregular shape that interlocks with its neighbors in ways that create structural integrity far superior to conventional building methods. The surfaces of these stones bear tool marks that don't correspond to any known ancient implements. The cuts are too smooth, too precise, and too consistent to have been made with copper chisels or stone hammers. Some surfaces show a mirror-like polish that reflects light with crystalline clarity, suggesting finishing techniques that supposedly weren't developed until the modern industrial age. The transportation challenges presented by these massive blocks boggle the mind. The quarries where the stones originated lie miles away from construction sites, separated by terrain so rough that modern heavy equipment would struggle to navigate it. Yet somehow, prehistoric builders moved blocks, weighing as much as loaded cargo aircraft across this impossible landscape with apparent ease. But perhaps the most remarkable aspect of these Peruvian structures is their seismic performance. In a region plagued by devastating earthquakes that regularly flatten modern cities, these ancient walls have stood firm for centuries. The flexible jointing system allows the entire structure to move as a single unit during ground motion, dissipating seismic energy through mechanisms that contemporary engineers are only beginning to understand. The builders achieved this extraordinary performance without any apparent knowledge of modern structural engineering principles. They had no computer models to test their designs, no seismic instruments to measure ground motion, and no historical data about earthquake patterns. Yet their intuitive understanding of structural dynamics surpasses that of many modern architects working with advanced analytical tools. Recent analysis using ground-penetrating radar and other advanced technologies has revealed that these visible walls represent only a fraction of much larger buried structures. Beneath the surface lie foundations and underground chambers that extend far deeper than previously imagined, suggesting construction projects of truly staggering scope and ambition. From Peru's impossible stonework, we journey to the mysterious landscapes of Easter Island, where ancient builders created monuments that continue to baffle researchers with their scale, precision, and enigmatic purpose. Rising from the remote Pacific Ocean, nearly 1,000 giant stone statues stand silent witness to capabilities that shouldn't have existed among supposedly primitive island populations. These aren't crude totems carved by isolated tribal communities. We're talking about sophisticated sculptures that display artistic mastery, engineering knowledge, and organizational capabilities that rival any ancient civilization. The largest statues stand over 30 feet tall and weigh dozens of tons, yet they were carved from solid volcanic rock using techniques that remain mysterious to this day. What makes these Easter Island monuments truly extraordinary is their uniformity and precision across nearly 1,000 individual sculptures. Each statue maintains consistent proportions, artistic style, and construction quality that suggests a highly organized production system operating over extended periods. This level of consistency requires planning, coordination, and technical knowledge that challenges assumptions about prehistoric island societies. As we reach the end of our incredible journey through the world's most bizarre prehistoric structures, one thing becomes crystal clear. Everything we thought we knew about ancient human capabilities was wrong. Dead wrong. From 16,000-ton stone blocks carved with impossible precision to underground cities that make our modern infrastructure look primitive, we've uncovered evidence of prehistoric achievements that shatter conventional timelines of human development. The pattern emerging from these discoveries is undeniable. Across every continent, separated by vast oceans and supposedly isolated cultures, we find the same impossible precision, the same advanced engineering principles, and the same mysterious disappearance of the knowledge required to create such marvels. Whether it's floating stones in Japan, anti-gravity vessels in India, or earthquake-proof walls in Peru, these structures represent capabilities that we're still struggling to understand, let alone replicate. What haunts me most about these mysteries isn't just their technical impossibility, but the silence that surrounds them. How does knowledge this advanced simply vanish from human memory? Why do civilizations capable of such extraordinary achievements leave no trace in our historical records? The answers to these questions may force us to completely rewrite the story of human civilization itself. Here at Dream Vault Mysteries, we're committed to bringing you the truth about our forgotten past, no matter how uncomfortable that truth might be. If these incredible discoveries have opened your mind to possibilities you never imagined, make sure you're subscribed and hit that notification bell, because trust me, we've only scratched the surface of the mysteries waiting to be uncovered. The evidence is mounting, the questions are multiplying, and the conventional explanations are crumbling under the weight of impossible facts. Our prehistoric ancestors weren't the primitive cave dwellers we've been taught to imagine. They were builders of wonders that still defy our understanding today.